Good evening. Hello. Still keeping at this. My prediction is tonight is going to be a bad stream. I'll get to why I think this in a second. First, let's turn on the music. Okay. I'm also gonna turn down the blinds because my birds are annoying me right now. Sleepy time. There we go. Hopefully that'll help a bit. Hello, Fenton. Good evening. So, the last few days, last 2 days, including this day, I've been hitting a bit of a snag. The last few streams have also not been very good. And that's mostly because I've run out of motivation. And I don't really know what I want to do. And when that happens, things usually go bad. So I'm not entirely sure how to fix that. Typically, you know, motivation is a thing that is just a whiff of the mind, so there's not much that I expect to be able to do about it, aside from waiting for me to just, you know, get my shit together. Yeah, so I'm still going to try for a while longer.
It's a hard resource to come by.
Indeed. I'm still going to try to keep this going, but unfortunately, I cannot guarantee that the streams are going to be very good. Now, for tonight, what I wanted to do is another thing that I think doesn't make for a very good stream, which is working out the basis of a dialogue syntax. This is going to involve a lot of me just being quiet and thinking, and occasionally trying to express what I'm thinking about, and then typing things down, and then redoing them because I'm not happy with them. So it's going to be a rather arduous process. It's going to just be text, no visuals, and it'll be me being quiet and thinking for a lot of it. So, yeah, apologies if that's what's going to happen. Ways of making this more interesting is trying to follow along and thinking along and offering suggestions or questions or feedback of any kind, so that things become a bit more of a, you know, a dialogue in itself rather than just me sitting here by myself. Anyway, so the first step of doing this, I've already done. So Leaf has a dialogue system in place. This system sucks, and I don't like it, so I'm going to scrap it and redo it. Now, most of you probably don't know about this, but I do have a markup system or markup language of my own that I wrote and refined over like 5 years. And I think last year, or was it earlier this year, I finally completed it, or pretty much completed it. It's called Markless, and I'll show you real quick if I can get a browser window over here. There we go. I'm not sure if it comes up in Google or not, but whatever. So Markless grew out of the resentment for Markdown, and yeah, because I'm of the opinion that Markdown is a pretty terrible markup language. Not alone with that, but if you think Markdown is the bee's knees, then probably not going to be good friends. So, right, Markless is based on two core ideas. One, it should be as intuitive as possible, and two, it should be as fast to parse as possible. Markdown fails both of these things, especially the fast to parse kind of thing. and especially the intuition thing for some of the more non-obvious things. So it has a specification, which is, hold on, where's the compiled link? Compile PDF. Here it is. Once it loads. Once it fucking loads. Oh my god. Okay. Right, so Markless has a spec. Spec is how many pages? 30 pages long. And it tries to be as clear-cut of a spec as possible, but writing specs like that is really difficult. I've had it run by a number of people, and I think so far I have not gotten too much negative feedback, or I think I've resolved all the issues that we had. Right. So if you're interested in markup syntax kind of things, you might want to have a look at this. Could be interesting for you. I've also written an implementation called ZL Markless, which allows you to, it's a common Lisp thing, and it can output to HTML, EPUB, and it can parse from Markdown. So if you have Markdown files, you can convert them in one go, and that should work as well as possible. I would like to add more things to this at some point, more outputs, specifically tech, but I haven't had the time since I've completed this. Now, the parser in ZL Markless's parser is extensible, so you can add new directives, as they're called, and we're going to need to do that as part of the dialog system. So I wanted to base the dialog system on Markless, because I already have a parser for it, and it's a language that I think is not too terrible and should be amenable to what I need to do. Right. Anyway, so that's the background on Markless. Check a look if you're interested, and also give me feedback if you do. That will be very appreciated. You might have also seen a couple of my repositories, especially the newer ones, having a file readme.mess. Mess is the Markless extension. Right, there's also an Emacs package that's available on Melpa, which should give you some syntax highlighting and all of that stuff. Emacs one is not a complete parser, because Emacs's syntax highlighting capabilities are let's just say they leave things to be desired. Alright, anyway, so first step to doing this is figuring out what the dialog system needs to be able to do. And in general, I also need to think about the quest system. Right now I'm trying to focus on the dialogue alone, meaning that we're focusing on a single conversation that you might initiate rather than a string of events and conversations that might happen as part of a quest line or a complete storyline. So, yeah. Right, let's start looking at this. Well, first thing to note is that we need to have a way of expressing which character is talking, and the way I intend this to work is also to have like small profile images above the text box to display like an expression or something. So we need to have a way of designating the current mood, I guess, and also changing it over time. Oh boy. Right. One question that always comes up when you do dialog boxes is how is text scrolling going to work? I do definitely want to have auto wrapping, so I don't need to worry about line breaks. But text scrolling is kind of a thing, because typically you'll have to structure your dialogue around the fact that you have a text box. that needs to be scrolled, because if you don't, then the line breaks or the page breaks are going to be, you know, at places where it's odd to have a page break. And so the question becomes whether you want page breaks to be automatic or not, because you're going to need to pay attention to them anyway, so it might be better to force it to not have any automated page breaks. So that's a thing to think about. Aside from these requirements, there's also the need to be able to react to certain states in the game. So for instance, say you have... Oh my god, why every night? Say you have a certain kind of item in your inventory, then characters should be able to react to that. So they should be able to have certain responses based on an inventory item. You might also have like different kinds of things that are said depending on what you've done, so other kinds of quest state needs to be available to do branching. And then you need to be able to have choices so that the...
That means you need to implement an inventory.
I know, but we're not doing that right now. Now you brought me out of my fucking train of thought. Right, we need to also have a way of representing choices so that... Oh my god, please. So that you can, well, whether the choices will be meaningful or not is, you know, up in the air, but there needs to be a way of letting the player pick several responses at times. Some of which might need to be locked between aside with conditionals, so that you can say like, you only have this response if this and this happen, or you have this and this item, or whatever. So we need to be able to conditionalize certain parts of the dialogue system. And then you can have extra fun stuff like, I don't know, text effects and things like camera shakes or other kinds of wahoo that might need to be in there if you want to get fancy with it, but I think I can keep that for later. Or, you know, can use things like italics or bold for those kinds of things, I suppose. Right. So I suppose the standard text is the first question of how that's going to happen. Typically, the entire text box does not encompass a lot of text, so using an entire paragraph to represent a page break seems a bit overkill. So maybe single lines for page breaks, and line breaks are automatic within that. I suppose I could do a thing where... So, Markless has block quotes with a source.
You might want to use paragraph breaks for separate text boxes, yes.
Right, but here's where my thought comes in. Markless has quote blocks, and quote blocks can have a source header. So you can have a source like this. Einstein said, gravity is the gravens, you know. So doing it with quote blocks will give the advantage of allowing you to, you know, directly identify. That's not good, it should continue that automatically. Who's speaking, so you could put information about the character talking into the source block or source line. So that will be a natural fit for what's in Markless right now. Another way of doing it would be to say to add extra syntax. Let's say, you know, the Polet says Muriga is the greatest, and then you know you can have another line, and also Spin is hot, I guess. Fucking, I don't know. Right, so you would have it like this, and then another character would be some other dude. You know, I guess the other alternative would look like this. Or without that, I guess. Yeah. This requires a bit more syntax to type, but it is, you know, native, I guess. And I think it looks a bit better.
Would lists work for dialogue options then?
Yeah, that's what I've been thinking. But I'm trying to go one at a time. The problem kind of with... Yeah, so lists can... You can do lists for dialogue options, so... who's your daddy? Einstein. Nicolas Cage. Eric the Legend. Oh no. So you could do it like this, representing a choice. And then you can, of course, because things can nest, you can, you know, do it like this. The problem is kind of if you start making many choices, the nesting gets pretty crazy, and also it kind of doesn't follow. You know, this is another problem. Since we now have flow state inside the dialogue, we need to be able to do jumps as well. If you need to restart a choice, or if you need to go back to some other dialogue point, you need to have some way of identifying where you want to go and how to get there. So that's another problem that comes once we start thinking about flow diagrams. Yeah.
I feel dialogue options should only do jumps.
Yeah, that's the other idea, is that you always represent, you know, the outcomes of a choice as a jump to a particular place and then handle it there, instead of letting it nest. The problem with that idea is that if you're... I estimate that, or this is just my hunch, that most of the choices will be relatively short outcomes, or short dialogues, in which case having to do full segments for each choice is relatively verbose, and that might not be desired. Naturally, you know, the system that's implementing this will need to parse this into a more flat kind of representation that only does jumps anyway. So it's not a question of, you know, how the game internally handles this, but rather this is only a question of what is the most convenient for the writer to deal with. And I feel like allowing this would be good, especially since we already kind of get it for free from the syntax. But yeah, jumps and tags need to be established as well.
Fair enough. How will you rule things like text color and the way emphasis shows up? A separate style file per character or something?
And what do you mean text color? You mean having like the text style differently for different people that are speaking or something like that? I'm not sure if I want that, to be honest. I do want things like, you know, at some point I want things like text that is trembling or like flashing or something like that. And for that we can use bolds and italics and underscores and strike throughs and, you know, those kinds of things.
Well, maybe you want bold style to have red text instead of heavy text.
I mean, yeah, but then you can just write, you know, I don't know. I guess that can be done as star file if we need that redirect, but that doesn't seem like it's a consideration for the syntax of the dialogue itself.
I didn't remember markless having colors.
It has any color you want. You can even put RGB triplets in there. Color, I think it was... How did that work? Yeah. So you can do it like that, or you can even use a hex. Like that. I think hex you can even... No, hex you can't put without the color. You can? Thought he couldn't. Thought it was an anchor in that case. Maybe it isn't. I think it's link and then... Yeah, anyway. Yeah, it has colors. Any colors you want. It also has some predefined color names like red and blue and stuff like that. Okay. Right. So I think I vastly prefer this option for base dialogue, even if it is a bit more syntax heavy. But I feel like, you know, I can use one of Emacs's features which allows you to make it automatically insert or continue a block, which does work for some things, I think, in this package, but not all things. So I might need to work on that some more. Yeah, so that should be a much better choice. It's also highlighted nicely. Shit! Okay, right, so I guess next problem is... let me just make a list of problems. Emotes, branches, or jumps and tags. Conditions. Insertions, meaning like it can pick text based on something state-based text. So it can pick text depending on some kind of state, like your inventory or whatever. And a lot of it goes under conditions. Yeah. Should be. Might also need things like camera movement so that you can zoom in and out
Placeholders.
Placeholders, meaning what? I'm not sure. Placeholders for what? Placeholders for substitutions. I'm still not sure I follow. Can you give me like an example? Maybe I'm a bit confused. Maybe you're referring to what I was thinking about with state-based text.
I think so.
Okay. Yeah, when I was thinking about that, it's kind of like, what are we filling in anyway? Like, what part of a text would have to be purely dynamic? And the only things I can think about are either things like explicit choices, which is, again, a conditional, or having something like the name of an item in your inventory. So that will be that. Other than that, I can't really think about, like, okay, you might have a thing like if the player gets to name their character, which I don't think I want to do for this, but it might be useful in general. I guess that could be a thing. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe it should be, yeah, maybe placeholders is a better name for it. Hello, Zorkidon and Symptom. I still don't know how I should say that name. Thams. Right.
I also did think of items.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess it would be useful.
I don't know whether you want this, but there could also be tracery style generation of variations.
Tracery style? Ooh. Now I'm very confused. What is that? Generation of variations. Do you mean like it'll somehow produce text automatically, or tracers are stonework elements that supports the gloss in a Gothic window? What? Tracery. Huh. I never knew about this. This looks interesting.
Yes, according to a grammar.
Ooh. That is very interesting. I don't know. Maybe. That could be interesting, yeah. Though then that will be like for non-essential dialogue, for like a side thing. Also, there was a very good GDC talk by one dude whose team is focused on very, very narrative heavy games where it's basically purely text and they have a huge amount of state and different kinds of things, and they developed a specific language and system for it. Let me see if I can find that again. Which was sort of an inspiration for me to get started on this as well. Though I have some other ideas for what I need. Obviously, let me see. Is it this one? Hold on. I think it might be. No, wait, this is not. No, this isn't it. Never mind, that is not it. Where was this? Did I not save this video? If it did, shame on me. Yeah, I guess I didn't. Damn. Let me see if I can find it real quick. GDC, story syntax, maybe? System. I can't find it anymore. Damn it. Anyway, yeah, grammar-based things are... I don't think I'll need them for this, but it will be an interesting addition. Though in that case, I suppose it would have to be an entirely separate kind of deal. Since right now I'm mostly thinking about, you know, a system to handle entirely designed elements. Okay, right, so... For conditions, we both need a way of conditioning out entire sections and choices, and as well as conditioning certain kinds of parts of a text, so, you know, placeholder parts. So that probably needs separate syntax for each. We also need a way to do state changes. So to actually make, you know, changes in the game, so it persists and advances the story or plot or whatever. Right. I'm gonna move emotes down a bit since that's not that important. I might be under state changes anyway. Okay, so jumps and tags will be the first thing to look at. How do we want to do that? I'm still thinking about what that talk was. Maybe it's in my browser history? Doubtful, but maybe. GDC. Browser is lagging. Okay, it's showing almost nothing somehow. Yeah, I don't know. That is a shame. I don't think I saved my bookmarks, did I? Nope. Damn. Okay. One obvious sort of way, or not really obvious way, but one way of doing tags would be to have section titles. So sectionings would be a tag. So you can have a way of... But that's both... It feels... Section titles feels like too coarse of of a way to do tags. So you might want to have tags in the middle of a dialogue, like, you know, start a tag here. Or maybe even better, something like this. That's also going to be an interesting challenge to figure out how the system actually knows the exact position where a tag should restart to, I guess, in the control flow of it. I suppose it depends on how it's going to be compiled down. It can be entirely flattened, that will be good. Would reduce that problem a lot. Okay. I don't think there's any pre-existing markless syntax that could be leveraged for this. Let me have another look through the directives. I guess you could use footnotes. No, that doesn't work. Footnote references, maybe? No. I'm pretty sure what I can do for state changes is obvious, because there's the instruction command or directive, which can have additional directives, so you can do like something like set a foo x or whatever. So we can leverage that to do state changes in the system. So that should be a no-brainer. So state changes is a pretty solved problem. Let's get that out of there. But jumps and tags. I guess you could also have a like go tag kind of thing to do a jump. Which I don't know if that needs special syntax or not. Actually, hold on. Since you can have inline footnotes, we could use footnotes for marking. So you could have this, which would be a jump there, and then reference it somewhere. So no, that will be a footnote reference. So you would have to go 1 or something. I don't remember if Markless has... I think it has a directive to make additional labels. I think it does. Man, I don't remember my own stuff nearly as well as I should. Let's see. Line directives. Include... Yes, it does have a label. So you can also do it like that, I guess. So in Markless, when you define a footnote, it creates a label or a link to that footnote with the same number as the name of that label. But you can... headers also automatically have a label associated with them, with the name being the text of the header. And you can also explicitly cause labels by saying label here, and that'll make a link to that position in the document. So I think that would be fine to use for jumps, for tags in the very least, using either footnotes like that or this explicit directive. So that seems fine. The question now is how to do jumps. Well, I mean, it's only fair to have a bang go, but I wonder if it would be useful to have a tighter syntax for that. Maybe something like, you know, something like that. And then maybe you could even put it on the same line as the choice. Nah. Seems...
What was your idea for enabling and disabling dialogue options?
Well, that's under conditions, and I'm getting through that after this. So far I don't have an idea. I want to figure this out first. Is there no syntax for this? Oh, it is for this, right. Oh, it doesn't do it inline. Ooh, that's bad. That's an omission. I should fix that. Could also do something like this, I guess. I don't know. Let's actually note this down. Tags, jumps, characters, quote, source, dialogue, quote lines, tags, labels. Jumps should be go instruction. I don't know. Do I really want extra syntax for that? Is that even really much shorter? I guess 2 characters shorter. Is that really worth it? I could justify it a bit more if it was this. But then, is it really more readable? Ideas? Deny the data. Huh. I did have something written up before. Yeah, so I used the same kind of thing here. Okay. Oh, I used this syntax. That is neat. I like that. So it's a block rather than an inline. That makes sense. Yeah, I think that's fine. Using a closing or opening bracket. Yeah, that seems fine. So that. Okay. All right. Conditionals. So I think we need different kinds of conditions. conditional choices, conditional lines, and conditional parts for parts in the line, in a line. Though I think choices and lines could probably be reconciled into the same thing by saying conditional. Could they be? I don't know. What did I do here? Yeah, this for highlighting of clues. Yeah, I just had curly braces. Sometimes? What is this? Why is a tier not here? What? I'm confused. Guess I... Huh? And this was the syntax for... in this I kind of mixed the quest system and the dialogue system together, which I think I don't like. Or I'm not sure if I like it at all. I don't like it because it puts too much pressure on the same kind of syntax for everything. But I do like it because the opposite would imply having a separate file or... Yeah, for every single dialogue, which sounds very annoying, so I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay. Right. Conditional choices. Could do something like, I guess, I don't know, similar to how supertext and subtext are currently handled. Or could even use that, I guess. Where's the... Why am I not typing the right thing? There we go. I guess just for the conditional itself, it's a question of whether you want to have logic blocks or not. So whether you can just conditionalize out a block, as in you can either make a block active or not, or whether you want a system that allows you to choose between two blocks. So, you know, the difference between when and if, I guess. You know, having both would be nice. The question is, how is it gonna work? Or, not work, but look. Could also... No, that's not good. Ideally, it would be a block prefix, but because the condition is going to be very long, that's not going to work out. You know, something similar to the block quote is what I was thinking about. So you would have a thing like, I guess let's just use the block quote for lack of a better thing. But you would have a thing like, condition, and then it would have the resolution if that condition passes. The advantage of doing it like that would be that it's handled on the block level rather than being some kind of inline property. So maybe you can have like a question mark and then that as a different thing. Problem with that is then resolution needs to be nested again, I guess. Not too bad though. How would else clauses work into this though? I mean, ideally you would... Even more ideal would be if you could pull the choice inwards, because that makes more sense since you want to conditionalize out the entire choice, but that doesn't really work with the way everything else is structured, because if you don't have a conditional for another choice, then these are not going to be part of the same listing since that's nested in there. I guess it'll just have to sort of detect empty choices and remove them. Yeah, that's alright. Yeah, this is okay. If you've seen Einstein, then you can have that. And I guess, if not, we could have a double bracket for that, maybe. Nobody. But... maybe, I don't know. Thoughts?
Sorry, I was distracted. Thoughts on what?
On this stuff. How to handle the conditionals. You know, the thing that you were asking me about. In case you're wondering why this does not highlight like the rest does, marked list mandates a space after the bar for it to be a proper block quote. So this would be a different directive.
Okay, I see. So the double pipe ends the conditional.
The double pipe would be an else. The conditional is ended naturally if you leave the scope of it. So, you know, if you go outside of it, then outside of the bars, then the conditional will be over. Though I'm not sure if I like the double bars as an else clause identifier. Can't really think of anything else though. Ha ha ha.
Ah, okay. Yeah, that'd work. What if you want else if?
I guess this. Yeah, so conditional blocks.
I feel like instead of the pipe it should be a character similar to the question mark. An exclamation point perhaps?
You mean this? I don't know. I feel like I like the pipe because it indicates it's a continuation of the same logical unit, which is true.
No, I mean pipe for the area it's in still, and the second character could be an exclamation mark.
Oh, you mean... fuck. Can't type anymore. Jesus. This? For the else clause? Or for the if, else if clause? I don't like the bang because it's used for the for statements. I don't like down here. So the bang is sort of used for side effects rather than anything.
Something like that, though sticking to question mark might be the best. It'd be an else if there's something more to it, and just plain question mark if it's a plain else.
That's an interesting idea. Yeah, that could work. Yeah. Yeah, that's nice. I think I'm okay with that. The only problem I sort of have, if you have a conditional within a conditional, then it looks a bit not as distinctive, you know. There's only one character difference, but if I mark if I change the markdown, the Emacs highlighting to make that marked more special like this, it should be fine. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Alright, conditional parts would be the next. So this is for sort of inline conditionals of text. So you have, I guess you would have something like scene shit, then you would have something like something like that, but obviously this is not what I would prefer for syntax. Maybe a bar for the different choices. And can get rid of that. It actually works out. Maybe brackets instead of braces. Yeah, it works out. Any other ideas? I guess you might want to have not just this, but like have a choice between multiple things. So then I guess you can just add more columns. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I think that's okay. Okay. Okay, placeholders. Placeholders. Is that item? I guess that will work. I don't know. It's pretty simplistic. I'm not sure what kind of options you would actually... The placeholder is sort of very nebulous to me when it would be useful. I guess maybe if you have a trading system or something, bartering system, then you can have some dialogue for what they're talking about or something. I don't know. What are you writing there, Gingy? Condition A, condition B, C. Oh, I see what you mean. I meant more like the actual predicate here returns a number instead of a boolean, in which case it'll choose from the options. In which case you could also do something from like
got it.
random 5 and then it picks a random one from the 5. So that will be, I guess, a freebie for random responses. Yeah, I guess that'll work for now.
Thank you.
Yes. Or form, I guess. Okay, effects. One effect I definitely need is the one that's visible in this, which is that underscores mark a clue that you have, which can then be reviewed in a logbook or something. So that's an important part for the detective system of the game. The problem I kind of had with this approach is that there's no way of, you know, you might have some flavor text, and the clue might have a canonical name, so you would need to designate both of those. So you would have, like, okay, it says man became nauseous, but it actually links to, like, nauseous man or something like that is the clue name, I guess. So I'm not sure what would be useful for that. Maybe another bar. Bars are great, because you barely ever need them in actual text. Yeah, I guess that'll work. Let's see. Effects. Clue. Oh my god, please. Flavor. Clue. Ooh, that shouldn't happen. Shouldn't underline that. Bad Emacs. Okay. Shake. And then we add to, like, important, I guess. And important can just be bold. Shaking, what will be natural for that? Quiet can just be subtext. I guess slashes. What else? I would like to keep the amount of extensions I need to do to an absolute minimum, so I don't have to do a lot of work there. But obviously, if something is not a good match, then yeah. Also, hello, Elsie Pablo. Another thing that I just remembered is pausing, so to make the text like pause and scroll.
Controlling the text speed might become
Yes.
important.
Wow, our minds are synchronized. So for pauses and things, we can just use the EN and EM dashes.
Well, it'd be more than just pausing. Pause would be 0 speed, I guess.
No, pause would be waiting for a certain amount of time until the next thing happens, which is similar to reducing the speed, I guess. You could have like a pause between characters to simulate a slowed speed. You know, I think the most frequent use of having a pause would be something like, you know, if you have it like, hey, what's this over there? You know, could do it like that.
Yeah, that'd work.
Because I'm not sure if actively controlling the text scrolling speed would be necessary outside of these situations. Maybe it would be if someone's like really nagging on you and talking fast. You would like to have the text scroll by quick. So, but then again, that can be done with a with an instruction if need be. So, let's do that. Scroll speed, sepid. Man, I can't type tonight. Okay, right, that's fine. So we would have to write something like that. Speed 100, and then the next line would. This is annoying text. Oh, why go fast? You know, something like that. Okay, camera movement. Shake, move, zoom, and I guess rotate, because why not? I'd also want to have the camera be able to show some other place than where it currently is. So maybe also a show other thing. Or, yeah, I guess. Or let's rename that. Camera shakes. Could just make a shake instruction. That's kind of the cheap way of doing everything. Though that won't work if you need a camera shake in between things as the text is scrolling, so it would have to be an inline. I'm not sure. Isn't there... I was thinking about markless as a way of... Or, well... By default, line breaks are not represented in markless output. Or wait, by default they are, but you can make it not be by escaping the new line. So I was thinking about using the escape new line to roll a block instruction into a text, but I'm now not so sure. Hold on. If that's even legal. I forget my thing. Let me see. The line is red. Yeah, okay, never mind.
If it's not legal, then it's time to do some crimes.
It's not legal. In markless, if you do a / escape for a new line, it treats both lines as a singular line. So meaning that your block directive won't be recognized as an actual block, and it'll instead be, you know, just one line. Thank God that I wrote a specification. Hurrah! I did something right for once. Yeah. The reason I'm thinking about all these camera controls being inline is sort of like if you've ever played the Phoenix Wright games, there are several parts where like there's a sound effect and a camera shake as things scroll out on screen, and it's pretty effective to make things more interesting. So the question becomes, how do we do all this? Emotes too. That's another thing. Though emotes, I think, should only change on line boundaries, not in line. Or that seems to be the typical kind of thing that happens when you have a profile. So there's a line and then there's a change in picture. So I think that's fine. Here's a dumb proposal. How about making it a smiley? Could do that. It's not reserved. I don't know.
Emotes work. Don't forget the XD.
Oh god. No, I meant like this 2-character smiley as a sort of a prefix for which emote to display. Or could do this.
Backward smiley.
Alright. I think we need a way of doing instructions in line. I'm pretty sure, because then I can make all the camera things instructions. And just use them as inline instructions, yeah. So the ramifications of that are a bit unclear to me. Could do something like for inline instruction, I guess. Though, that would preclude parents from existing inside the instruction. I guess I mean, it will work for most things. No, actually, since you can escape things, it should work always. It would just have to do this if you actually wanted to enter an inner list. Yeah, that should work. Or actually, for inline instructions, we can just use the code thingy. You know, since we already have that. Yeah, that should be much better. Let's add that.
Genius.
I know, right? Okay, so shake instruction, instruction. Show. Emotes could also be. Emotes, I still don't know. Typically, I don't know. How did I do it last time? Angle brackets. Well, those are already used. Could do something like that, though. Or it could just do that, after all. Yeah, I think that's fine. Okay. Anything else that's missing? We do have state changes, conditionals.
Nothing immediately comes to mind.
Well, you might want to have the character, like, not just have a profile, but no, actually, if I do profiles, then the scene will pretty much never change. Because if you don't have that, then you might want to have it so that, like, no. You might want to have characters, like, perform a certain animation. Could put that under emotes, though. Or could I? No, that's not the same thing. I guess it could do... Yeah, it really depends, like, if I want to go into an entire thing where I can make entire scenes happen, like moving characters around and having them do things and all of that. That will be really nice, but yeah, it's gonna get a bit crazy if that's added, because then, you know, we need tools to direct entire scenes and whatever.
Using markless for entire cutscenes would be impressive.
Well, what do you suggest instead?
Well, if you can do it, then do it. I've no better ideas.
Well, I mean, the obvious counterpoint would be that you would have a UI of some kind where you can do it interactively. But I'm not actually sure or convinced that that would be less cumbersome than just writing it out in whatever syntax you want, whether it be Lisp or anything else. Also, in case you're wondering why I'm even doing this instead of, you know, using a Lisp DSL, some kind of macro that parses things, the reason is...
Could be important to be able to skip to a certain part of a dialogue during testing.
That's a good point. The reason is that Lisp syntax is simply too verbose. When you're writing as much dialogue as I expect I'll have to be writing, I really want it to be terse. The prototype that I implemented a long time ago was using simple Lisp syntax, and it was just getting to be a pain in the ass, so I stopped. Yeah. Skip to a certain part of the dialogue. I mean, that's more support things than...
Ah heck, I need to be right back. I forgot my laundry in the machine.
Go get that laundry before it gets stanky again. I don't think I need an explicit thing in this syntax to be able to skip to certain parts of the dialogue. I think that will be more on the engine side. So that you know which part is what, or maybe you can just add a label and then say jump to that label. Yeah, I think that should work fine. We might have a debug command to jump to a certain dialogue label. That should be okay. Question is more that, so for instance, if you have a foo and then, you know, you have a label there, and let's move this up. Should that even be in there? No, that should not. Never mind. But for instance, no, actually, hold on. Need an example. So for instance, if you have this label here, and you're in some kind of other dialogue here, and you say go to 1, then the system needs to be able to realize that needs to change the character and possibly also the profile. So the compiler of this will need to be able to be smart enough to realize this and sort of records the state that would have happened for display when you jump to another location and restore that state. Yeah. Yeah, anyway, that's internal stuff. I think I'll keep you know, cutscene direction for a future thing, future ideas. Cutscene direction, animations. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. By the way, just as a note, if you ever need to implement syntax highlighting for something in Emacs Lisp, my condolences, because the Emacs syntax highlighting system is ugh. It really wants you to use regular expressions for everything, and if your language is not, you know, something that can be parsed by regexes, which is most of them, you're probably not going to be able to do it. The simple reason being that when a change happens in the document, all you know is the line that the change happened on, and you don't have any way of associating context with that unless you invent your own system. And so the only way of doing it is to either parse improperly or restart from the beginning. And if I recall, then if you try to do that, like restarting from the beginning, there's other problems that crop up and it's just a mess. Yeah, it's not good. Anyway. Trying to think if there's anything I'm missing. I don't think so. I'm also thinking a bit about the quest system that I mentioned at the beginning, whether I want to, or how I want to do that, and whether it should be incorporated with this format somehow or not. I mean, technically, I think most of, or if not all of the quest system could be solved in header lines like this. No, that would not be great. Nah, I don't like it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna keep it separate. Whoops. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble typing tonight, but I am. Okay. So next, now that we have all this written out informally, the next step is to formally specify this stuff. So let's get into that, I guess. Speech source. Source, if any. quote header. Hold on for a sec. Which section was that? Ba-ba-bum. Hook quote 5.2. Speech. Actual speech. Text is denoted by hook quote bodies. Section 5.2. Where were labels defined? Ba-ba-ba-bum. I think there's only an A glossary entry. Yeah. Bleh. Where are they? Hold on. State. I guess 4.1 will be the easiest to cite on this. Okay, jumps.
kind of syntax do I have for that stuff? Let me see. Ba-ba-ba-bum. Instructions. Yeah. Label. Yeah. Where was the singular line directive defined? 501. Section numbers, my favorite. Oh, I forgot about choices. Let's fix that now. Jumps. Unordered lists where I have 3. I think it's called textual components is what I call that. Yes. Not so happy with the wording on this. That should also be escaped. I think this needs to be escaped as well. I forget my own syntax. Yes, it does. Okay. Okay. Right, that should cover that. What will be the most fitting directive for this? Well, I guess it comes surrounding. Yeah. Six oh one. Okay. That'll be fine. Should a true predicate pick the first choice or the second choice? As in, I think it should pick the first one, right? I think format does it backwards. Every time I use format's dumbass thing, I get confused. Let me see. Right, so it has the first one is if it's false. Yeah, that always confuses me, so let's not do it confusingly. The predicate mounts to a true value. The first choice is if it evaluates to a integer, the choice is indicated. F integer there we go. This is all a bit hazy as I'm specifying it right now because it talks about execution and stuff, which is not a term that's established at all in this context. Markless does not have an idea of execution. At least I don't think it does. In the very least, it doesn't in a sense that makes sense for this. Yeah, it doesn't have execution. It has something else for what it calls parsing it. What was that again? I forget. Oh, it has matching, but that's not the same. Processing. Right, yeah. Processing is what it calls it. Yeah. Anyway, so things are a bit hazy right now, but that's fine. I'm gonna go a bit over time. I want to finish this. Placeholders. I don't think it's either an entity nor a surrounding inline directive. Let me see. Entity. Inline directive is an entity if its identifier does not contain any bindings. Yeah, right, so it's not that. And it's not a surrounding because it doesn't have a content binding. So it should actually, yeah. There we go. So it's just an inline directive. Section 6. Placeholder allows splicing dynamic text dependent on the current state and the place. There we go. What did I call it? Textual styles, I believe, or something? What was it? Styling. Yeah. Nah, actually subtext can stay subtext, so I don't really need to talk about quiet at all. Importance can also stay bold, so I don't need to talk about that either. Shake does need to be explained. Though I don't know if I want to use slashes for shake still. That's one thing I don't like. Might need to rethink that. Right. Okay. It shouldn't be called rotate. What's the term for when the camera turns around the axis it looks at? That's the pitch, right? Let me see. Camera pitch. No, that's a roll. The pitch is right. Pitch is up and down. Yaw is left and right, and roll is okay. Yeah. I'm a dumbass. Okay. Emotes. State change. Should be place. Probably also need to specify in which environment all of these forms are evaluated. So that's a note for the future. To note which to note Okay. Is it called the content finding? Let me check. Instruction, no, as the... Is it called for the code? Is it even content there? Let me see. Yes, it is, okay. And that should be all. Well, I haven't specified these. Okay, well, that's fine. Let me just quickly show off. That I can turn this into something else. Ours. Instruction setup is not known. Oh, right, from the example. Guess I'll pack that into a thing. And now, I think it was, what was it, to print, right? God damn it. What was it? Conditions, directive, parser, printer, output. Format, mark less font. And targets. Can I put a path name here? I don't even know. I think I can. Yay! Okay, let's open that up. Exciting. There it is. Hurrah! Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Obviously it doesn't have a style sheet, but yeah. Could also make an EPUB version of it now. Publish it on Amazon. Wait, they don't take EPUB, never mind. Okay, that will be fine. Let me just quickly copy pasta this. Shake. Duration. That's an optional binding, or actually, just do that. Move X. Just... yeah, let's just append the duration to everything. There we go. Zoom. And I guess angle because why not? There we go. Good. Okay. Let's save it up. What did I change here? Right. Example. Log format spec rev1. Okay. That's it for tonight then. Next, implementing this, I guess. Yeah. So we'll look at how to extend CL markless, and then look at how to compile down the AST that's produced, that you can see here, to something that's usable for the dialogue system. Yeah. Probably going to be multi-part series though. Alright, thanks for sticking around, and...
Alright, that should be good.
Right, tomorrow I'll be busy, so I'm not sure.
Thanks for stream.
Tomorrow I'll be busy around the usual time, so either... Well, I'll be busy right before. So, there's two possible things that might happen. I might do a stream very early, much earlier, or I might be on time, or I might be slightly late. I don't know yet which it is, but I'll let you, I'll write on Twitter what's gonna be happening. So if you want to be here for the stream, check my Twitter at Shinmera, and I'll post there what's gonna be happening. I have a dinner right before, and I might not make it back in time, so I don't know. I hope I'll be able to get back in time, but maybe not. I'm going to be discussing next year's ELS, so negotiations might take a while. I don't know yet. Anyway, yeah, good night, and hope to see you tomorrow.